What's going on, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sports. This is your daily dose of USC Trojans news. Hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. A great USC Trojans victory, 45-31 over Michigan State. I was not on the live on Sunday. The great Tim, Madman, and the coach were there doing a live show, which was a lot of fun. I had family obligations, which were all good, just family time, so I wasn't able to join the show. So I wanted to quickly kind of just jump on here and give my thoughts. You know, I was at the game in the press box, wrote a little bit afterwards, but didn't get the chance to really talk, and obviously we're going to move on quickly to talk about Illinois, which is going to be a big game here throughout the week. I'm going to have a recruiting video up tomorrow. Or I guess depending when you watch this, I'll have it up on Tuesday later in the evening. A lot of big recruiting notes from this game. You know, I did a show just a few days ago about how many recruits were going to be visiting this game and kind of what dominoes could potentially fall from that. So look out for that. That'll be dropping very shortly. We'll have our live call-in show again on Wednesday. I should be there with myself, Tim, and the Madman. Always a lot of fun. We want to get more of your guys' calls, so make sure to join that as well. Quickly, big shout out to our friends over at Sleeper. Sleeper is the number one sports app right now. Download it today. You can use it for season-long fantasy up to the second stats and updates. Plus, you can do the live chat that you can talk with other sports fans throughout the games. Got every sport imaginable. And they have the daily pick'em. Pick 2 to 8 players across any sport and just choose more or less, whether it's passing yards, touchdowns, rushing yards, receiving yards, and you can win real money. When you go today and place your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USC LAFB. It's going to get you up to $100 match bonus. That's right. If you put in $100, you get $100 free to play with. Put in, if you want to just start with 10, put in $10, you get $10 free to play with. So that's Sleeper. Download the app, use the promo code USCLAFB. All right, so big USC Trojans wins, move to 4-0. They move up to 21 in the latest AP poll. Like I said, 45-31. I want to talk quickly about how, while it was not perfect, while it was not always pretty, this was another game after the Purdue game proving that this is not last year's USC team. So many people maybe think after listening to this or watching me that, you know, I'm too positive on or looking at that, but I'm just looking at building and looking at stacking and looking at improvement, right? Like, I'm not saying what I saw on Saturday is like this is a national championship quality team. I do believe they can become that. I really do. I think the coaching and the talent, and I think college football in a way, partially because of NIL, has really evened out in the sense there's not like 1, 2, even 3 or 4 like just dominant teams, in my opinion. I mean, there's certainly still your top teams. I think Ohio State's one of them. Georgia's probably one of them. Tennessee looks really good, even though they lost, but it was to Georgia in overtime. Oregon, I know we don't like talking about it, but Oregon so far looks pretty good. Again, pretty soft schedule, but, you know, they look pretty deep. So, I mean, there's still some really good teams, but I don't think it's like the years where it was like, who was going to beat Alabama? Who was going to beat so-and-so? Like, I think it's a much more even. So USC, if they can fix some of the issues that they currently have, I think they can actually make some noise. I really believe that. But what I really want to talk about was why, even in a ugly third quarter, why this team has proven that they are not last year's USC team. And so I'm not going to recap it all, but as everyone knows, come out in the second half, defense gets a 3 and out. Offense drives right down the field in 4 plays, touchdown 31-17, or 31-10 at that point, 31-10. Looks like this team is just going to run away with it and not only cover, but just embarrass Michigan State. Well, then defense forces another 3 and almost out, but you get the, you know, you got to be smarter, but I'm going to call it a very interesting running into the kicker call. It looked like he was pushed and then still like breathed on him, but hey, it got called. It makes it 4th and 2. This is then where egregious, right? So Michigan State decides to go for it on 4th and 2. USC has 12 men on the field. Like, those are the things you cannot have. Like, running into the kicker, I think it's a bad call. You can blame the kid for maybe being too, but it's like you're a hustle play trying to block a punt. Like, sometimes things happen, unfortunate. You don't want to see it often, but you can live with that, right? Having 12 men on the field on 4th and 2, egregious. So that's bad. Extends the drive. Then you get a defensive pass interference on DeCarlos Nicholson. Again, you don't love those, but with the way these Big Ten refs called, like, what really is a pass interference, like, you could live with that. Like, maybe he was a little bit too handsy. It wasn't like he tackled the dude. It's unfortunate because it's a 15-yarder, so it's a big one, automatic first down. So 3 penalties now on that drive. 2 of them, don't like it, you can live with. 1 horrible one. Then you get another illegal hands to the face penalty. These ones are getting to the point where, like, how many did they have in the Purdue game? 4? 3? They had a bunch in the Georgia Southern game. Like, these are ones like, okay, love the aggression, love being physical, but now these are bad penalties. Then you give them 1st and goal on the 4-yard line, they score. Okay, bad drive, 31-17, put it behind us, enough. Let's just move on. Well, then on the very first offensive play, DJ Jordan fumbles, gives the ball right back to Michigan State. They go down and score in, 2-3 plays, and make it 31-24, one-possession game. So this next drive not only proved that this USC team is not last year's USC team, just like they did in the Purdue game. Remember, things got a little hairy in that game also. But this also, and people will laugh, but to me, that next drive, which I believe started in the 3rd, went into the 4th, trying to think of the timeline, or maybe it was already in the 4th, was the most important drive in Lincoln Riley's tenure so far at USC. And here's why. I know that sounds crazy. Week 4, year 4, Michigan State. It shouldn't be. But why it was so important is because it showed a change in culture, a change in belief, and a change in when adversity hits, this team has the ability to bounce back and retake the momentum. Now, we got to see that build upon when the teams get better, but now this is back-to-back weeks when adversity hit and USC responded both times and pulled away again. So that next drive, not only did USC then go and score another touchdown to make it a 2-possession game, 38-24, but they did it with a 3rd down conversion and a 4th down conversion. They did it with all different types of play calling from Lincoln Riley in the running game and the passing game, and they did it taking 7 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock. Like, it wasn't this, not that it would be panic, but it wasn't this like, oh man, we're down 7, boom, we hit a big play, score in 30 seconds, but then give Michigan State the ball right back. Like, almost an 8-minute drive, dagger right there. And then the defense goes right after that, gets 4 and out, turnover on downs, USC scores again to then put the game away. So this isn't this isn't last year's USC team. This is a much more talented team, and B, the culture I think was changing last year. I do believe that. I just don't think they had like the deep and depth talent to close out games. Now, again, the competition has not been stiff, but so far they have been able to do that through 2 Big Ten games. So now we'll see when they go to Illinois next week. We'll see when they host Michigan in 2 weeks. Like, we don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but now we have seen them do that. So that was the biggest drive, in my opinion, of Lincoln Riley's career at USC. Obviously, he'll have the opportunity to have a more important drive next week and a more important drive. So I just mean it's the most important because it demonstrated this shift in ideology and culture that this team didn't have last year or 2 years ago. You can argue they had that maybe in year 1, but that was just such a different, just everything was different about that year in year 1 in 2022. So since 2022, this I think was like the most important drive in setting the trend of what this team wants to become. So that was point number 1. This is not last year's USC team. I think that's very clear. How far can they go? That is now what we'll see as this season progresses. Second point. Jade Mailava I think, is very clearly in the Heisman conversation. 100%. Now, we'll see when these big moments come, when the better competition comes. But based on 4 weeks of play and based on who his peers have played, like, yeah, there's been some guys that have played a game that obviously was stiffer competition. You could say John Mateer, he would probably be the most in terms of playing Michigan and Auburn. Some of the other Heisman candidates have maybe had one game in this 3-4 game stretch where it was a bigger that one game. But no one's throwing it better than Jaden Maiava right now in terms of efficiency, in terms of PFF grade, in terms of yards, in terms of 0 turnovers, not just 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers. Remember last year, one of the big things in those 4 games was, he had the interceptions, but also had some fumbles in there. Nada. So, huge, I think, shout out to the offensive line and Zach Hansen. That was the unit that everyone was skeptical about. And I don't want to keep repeating it because I think you guys are smart enough to know this. Obviously, let's see it when you face the Michigans, the Notre Dames, the Oregons, those defensive lines. But still, through these 4 weeks, the offensive line has been stellar. And last week against Michigan State, Elijah Page goes down, you shuffle things, and they did not miss a beat. Moving Raymond from guard over to right tackle, moving Tanau from right tackle over to left tackle. That's a big shift. And then you bring Mike Benuelos in at guard and did not miss a beat. So the offensive line is helping Jaden Maiava. Obviously, the running game has been elite with Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders. And then obviously the receiving core, and even without Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, dude is special. I could do a whole episode on Mekhi Lemon and just the receiving core in general. Absolutely special. But Jaden Maiava, finally, I saw make some lists, Heisman lists. He's still at like 8 or 9 on some of those lists. Just keep doing what you're doing, and he's going to just keep climbing those rankings. Climbing those Heisman rankings. I said before the season, those of you that watch, you'll remember, do not be surprised if we see a Cam Ward or Jaden Daniels-like ascension. Now, will he win the Heisman? We got a long ways to go. But should he be in the conversation right now through 4 weeks? Absolutely. And it was a guy coming into the season that most people had as the 7th or 8th best QB in the Big Ten. Not the country, the Big Ten. And he is, I think, statistically, he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Fernando Mendoza, I think, has been really good. Who those that watch the show also know I had Mendoza number 1 in the Big Ten. Not many did. I don't think you could put anyone else. Maybe Dante Moore has had a pretty solid season so far. You can't put anyone else. Can't put Luke Altmaier. Can't put Dylan Raiola. Yeah, Ohio State looks great, but I wouldn't put Julian Say in there. There's no other Big Ten quarterback, maybe other than you could make the argument Jaden Maiava, Dante Moore, and Fernando Mendoza is like kind of those 3, take your pick. Drew Aller, definitely not. So he is having so far that Cam Ward or that Jaden Daniel-like obsession. A guy that came into the league with little to no buzz and just kept building and kept rocketing up these boards. So that's a testament to Lincoln Riley. That's a testament to this offensive line. It's a testament to the running game and the receiving core. And the most testament to Jaden Maiava and the work he put in to improve, not just as a passer, but as a student of the game and in the mental aspect of the game. Last thing I want to talk about really quick. And before we do this last point, quick shout out to, we've had it a few times, but our friends over at ZipRecruiter. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you're hiring or looking to hire, with ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with quality candidates in minutes. So if you own your own small business, obviously, this is big. You don't want to waste time looking for candidates, so you can use their technology to find it. See a candidate you're really interested in, you can unlock their contact info, instantly. Over 320,000 new resumes are added to ZipRecruiter monthly, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles sooner. Use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 to 5 employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Use it for free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Last thing I want to talk about is the cornerbacks, defensive backfield. Obviously, it hasn't been good, right? No way to sugarcoat it. Has not been good. Another blown coverage again on Saturday night. And whether it's the scheme, the play call, the talent, it's just too whatever it may be, they got to fix it because I think this team is too good to be outdone by blown assignments in the secondary. I think the secondary is too talented to be blown assignments. So it's an issue. I'm still going to believe we're 4 weeks in, which feels like a lot, especially in college football, to still be having these kind of mistakes. So I know that's the most people were hammered down on, as you should. I'm still going to give a little bit of grace, a little bit of time, just because it is, truly right now, or going into the season even, it's an entirely new starting secondary. Because Kamari Ramsey had to move to nickel, right? It's an entirely new starting secondary. So while it's been bad, while it's been kind of the one eyesore of this team, because the defense, while everyone's kind of saying, the defense still question marks, it's really the secondary. The front seven looks fantastic. I think people are being too hard on the linebackers. I think the linebackers have been great. Gentry's been All-American level. Best linebacker in the Big Ten, you could argue. And I think Desmond Stevens has shown some growing pains taking over the full-time starting role, but he has not been bad. I think people are being a little ridiculous with that. He's had some mistakes, but you don't have the running defense that you have if your linebacker is lost, right? There's a reason the running game is what it is. It's obviously that front four or front five, depending on what scheme they're using, what personnel they're using, and it's your linebackers filling those gaps in between. So Stevens has been fine. Jaden Walker's been fantastic when he's been on the field, and obviously Gentry. So the real eyesore right now is the secondary. How do you fix it? This is maybe I'll try to dive into it more this week, of if I can look at the tape and get some all 22 and kind of see where these miscommunications are happening. Obviously, the coaching staff is doing that. But I think the biggest thing, and I get it, fans are not going to want to have patience on this. Totally get it. Not saying I do either. But when you really think about it, because a lot of people will say, man, everyone was talking about how deep and talented this secondary was. Everyone was saying, Doug Belk's the best, Trevon Reed's the best. This secondary is going to be one of the best in college football. So everyone was wrong, because it's not that. Now, to an extent, that would be correct, because they have not been good. Right? Have not been good. But you also have to look at the growth and the, not maturity necessarily, but experience of who's out there. And so let's kind of break that down quickly here. I'm probably getting up longer than I was planning, so I apologize. But when you look at, let's just go through kind of who's been well, let's first start with, obviously, I think Prophet Brown was a much bigger loss than maybe even I thought, because I even said when he went down, that's a big loss. He's a great player, but if there's any unit to lose someone, it is the secondary because of how deep and talented it is. I think I said that verbatim. So I think I was a little wrong on that. I think Prophet Brown meant a lot to the secondary and expertise playing that nickel, because obviously him playing that nickel then allows Ramsey to be back in his true spot at safety. So I think that was a big loss. Alex Graham, obviously a big loss based on what we heard from fall camp and saw, but no one was banking on the true freshman playing in the nickel. So while it feels like a big loss right now because of what we're seeing on the field, that was a true surprise that he was going to be that good. Everyone that recruited him knew how good he could be, but I don't think anyone expected him to be a potential starter day one if stayed healthy. So we'll leave that as a kind of surprise question mark box unknown. But obviously Prophet Brown, and then Chasen Johnson, I think, big injury. When he transferred over here, I had him slotted as my day one starter. Trevon Reed talked about how excited he was to get him because of how good he was at UCF, and banged up in fall camp, did he miss the first 2 games? So really has played a game, and then now he's out for the season. So that's a big loss. So then you look at who's been starting and who they're trying to figure out starting. You have DeCarlos Nicholson. Love DeCarlos Nicholson. Not going to say anything bad about him. The great human being. I think he's a great teammate, great leader. I think he's a good corner. But there's a reason why he's in, year 6 now. He was a backup last year on this team. Like, he's got that veteran presence, but he is like the unquestioned CB1. And there's probably a talent discrepancy there. Not saying he can't be good and better. Not saying he's like terrible, like some fans seem to think. The kid can play, but he is probably, when you just look at the history, look at the years playing, when you look at the talent, like probably suited more as a nice rotational piece. But because of injuries and because of what I'm going to talk about next, youth, he's like the unquestioned CB1. So I'd love to see him keep improving and getting better because I think he can be. But I think that's maybe why there's been some issues, just because, that's your CB1 that maybe is better as like a rotational CB coming in like he was last year. Like when he came in last year in spurts, I think he was fantastic. So he can still be good, but just leaning on him as your true like lockdown corner, we'll see if that progresses. Then you look at the other guys they're leaning on. DJ Harvey, for whatever reason, whether it was mis-scouting or whether it's just taking longer to learn the system, has not lived up to the hopeful hype that was there when he was brought over from San Jose State, when he transferred over, obviously. Like, not saying it can't improve and get better, but unfortunately just hasn't lived up to it. Like, he's been responsible for quite a few of these blown missed coverages, or at least from the looking at the eyes, whether it was his assignment or not, like he was the one that looked like it was blown. Without knowing the play call, I don't like to fully assume. But so that's one. He just hasn't been as good as the anticipation was. But then you look after him and you look at, Marcellus Williams, you look at Braylon Conley, and these are 2 freshmen. Redshirt freshmen, but freshmen. Didn't play it. So you're always going to have growing pains with freshmen or with first-time starters, we'll call it. And so that's more the thing. It's not that this defensive backfield isn't talented. It's not that they don't have the potential to be really good. It's that 3 of their starters are hurt. 1's gone for the season. 2, we still don't have a timetable. So technically it's all 3 starters. 2 were technically both nickel guys. Or no. Yeah, Prophet and Graham. So 3 guys out. Your now true CB1 is probably not a true CB1. And then you got freshmen, who I think can be really good and will be good. There's just some growing pains there. And we saw it improve over last week's game, I think, which was really encouraging. After that first blown on the Michigan State's opening drive, the secondary was much better. Much better. Like, there was the bad drive all around from the defense with the penalties, which I documented. And then there was the last garbage time, one-on-one. I think it was on DJ Harvey, but one-on-one ball with Amari, and he beat him and got the touchdown at the end to make it look closer than it was. So let's see how what I'm really looking for is, how does this secondary look against Michigan after the bye? We'll see next week. Hopefully there's some gradual improvement next week against Illinois. But after Illinois, you get a bye week. So you got to hope that Graham is back by then. We'll see about Prophet. I know there's been talk of like he's going to be way later. There's talk of like, maybe he might start ramping things up now. I don't know. I haven't heard enough like stuff that I trust to really put speculation on that. But Riley, when he got hurt, said they anticipate him being back at some point. Graham, we have no idea what his injury is, but I feel like after the bye, we could see him make his debut against Michigan. So let's see what this unit looks like against Michigan, and then we can really start to say, okay, are we in trouble, or were they just kind of early seeing growing pains with injuries and a really young unit? And the last thing I'll say, and I already went longer than I planned, so I apologize. Kamari Ramsey, everyone, move him back to safety. Move him back to safety. I agree with you. Obviously, not that he's bad at nickel, but he is arguably the best safety in the Big Ten. So you want him there, right? Agree with you, 100%. The thing is, you lost Prophet Brown and Alex Graham. nickel one, nickel two. So you got to think about it like from this perspective. If Kamari Ramsey, you move back to safety, it's going to be Bishop Fitzgerald and Kamari Ramsey. You're taking Christian Pierce off the field. Christian Pierce can't play nickel. Not that I know of. Maybe he can, but I've heard no talk of him playing nickel. So then you're either moving one of your outside guys that isn't comfortable there, or from what we've seen in the previous games, you're playing Kevin Longstreet. No disrespect to Kevin Longstreet, but that is a downgrade from Kamari Ramsey, right? We would all agree. So from a coaching perspective, but also just as a fan, you have to think about, like, while unbeknownst, we all agree Ramsey's best suited at safety and is one of the best safeties in all of college football. Would you rather take Christian Pierce off the field in favor for a worse nickel than what Kamari Ramsey is? And that's why he's playing nickel. That is why. So, whenever Brown or Graham is back, I think that's when we'll see Ramsey move back to safety, and then Pierce will still be a rotational guy, because Pierce has not played bad. I think Christian Pierce, we talked about it all offseason. Like, he was your third safety that's going to get some PT and has a real shot to be a real difference maker on this team, and he has been, and they're lucky they have him because they've been needed to move Kamari Ramsey down. So, just my 2 cents on that, because I agree with you. We'd love to see him, but you've got to weigh, like, you want to have your best 5 back there in the secondary. And so just think about it like that. Like, okay, Ramsey's going to be out there no matter what. But do you really want to take Pierce off to put someone else in who is worse than what Ramsey would be at nickel? Probably not. Which is why the coaches haven't. So, anyway, longer than usual, but I appreciate you guys as always. Again, Tuesday evening, I'll have a big recruiting update. So make sure to lock it in right here, USC LAFB. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Become a member. You can become a member here on YouTube or head over to LAFBnetwork.com. Become a member. 20% of your monthly subscription is going to go help support youth sports in Los Angeles. So want to help youth sports, big thing on my heart. So if you want to become a member, you're helping us out at LAFB, but you're also helping youth sports in LA. So be a huge help. Check out our merch. You can go to LAFBnetwork.com, where there's actually a link, or you can just I think you can see the shop logo right here on the USC LAFB channel. So we got some cool USC merch, plus other LA sports if you're, Lakers, Dodgers, Rams, any fan that you are. So thank you, Trojan family, as always. I am Ryan Dyer. We'll be back very soon. As always, fight on.